Well, you made one step, but I want to go another step.
Okay.
So the step that you made is um, more intelligent and thoughtful reciprocal altruism. Reciprocal altruism is I do better when the system does better, and the system, other people, so I'll help them because it's good for me.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than I'll fuck them because I get ahead, I'll find ways that I can, where I help them, I get ahead, but I'm still doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still ultimately coming from a place of focused on, with them. What's in it for me? I'm kind of this miserable, needy thing that just needs to keep getting shit from the world, needs to keep getting stuff and recognition and attention and whatever the fuck it is. And I will do things that are nice to the degree it gives me shit. Like that's a starting place that at least can make people less dreadful fucks to begin with. But you don't actually achieve anything like meaningful happiness as long as you're still focused on what's in it for me, because you're still affirming a self that's empty, right? There is some sense of it's a misunderstanding of self that is some sense that needs a bunch of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And what you keep getting is more of that sense of self, which means no matter how much shit that you get, whether it's achievement or recognition or whatever, that same kind of sense is there, which is very different than the kind of desire that comes from a place of wholeness and then connectedness to the world, and then a recognition of the intrinsic meaningfulness of others' lives, not because supporting them will make your life better, but just because their life actually matters to you, because you actually give a shit for no selfish reason. And like you can do this thought experiment. Okay, let's say that it was true that when I die, I became a guardian angel, or I had that possibility, right? I'm not saying that's true. It's a thought experiment. So let's say I had that. And I don't have to do anything. If I want to just chill in heaven and listen to music, I can do that. But I have the opportunity to affect people's lives in a positive way sometimes, but they'll never know it. I can divert the ball in the road where the kid doesn't get hit by the car. This question comes, do I ever do that? Do I ever bother having the kid not get hit by the car because I'm not going to get shit from it, right? Well, no, I will get something. I'll get feeling better about myself. Well, that also already has the emptiness of like, I don't feel good about myself and I have to do something like that. No, when that mom is crying, watching her baby get hit and whatever, like I feel it. Not because I need something or whatever, but because I can resonate with that. Her experience is as deep to universe as mine is. I'm not the only focal point of it. And if I can think about that kid's life, and I can think about the whole universe experiencing itself through this kid in these unique ways and falling in love for the first time, and when he becomes a parent and whatever, and I'm like, that's just actually beautiful. And I want to be in service to that for no obvious reason for me at all. I think the switch where people start to have a sense of wholeness that doesn't need a bunch of stuff from other people in the world, and then can, from that place of wholeness, actually show up to other people because you care about them, not because you want to get something out of doing something for them. That's when life starts to me.
Mm-hmm. I find that a very, very, very nice and interesting thought. It was interesting when you described it, I was thinking, okay, but this sense of self then isn't really, there's not the separation anymore. It's like, right, if you relate and if you empathize and if you feel, then it's not like you experience them. It's more like it's kind of the same.
So now go back and read any scripture of the world and see that it was talking about that, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself, not as much as. What the fuck does that mean, right? And or that the naming is the beginning of the 10,000 things in the Tao Te Ching, because it's in a, okay, I'm this separate dude over here. I'm Daniel. You're you. We're not really. I'm Daniel. This is me. This isn't me. This isn't me. Is that? Okay, so who the fuck am I without the planet? I'm not the planet. Who am I without the planet? Well, I'm fucking nothing. Who am I without the atmosphere? I'm nothing. Who am I without the plants that make the atmosphere? I'm nothing. I have to take for granted that the thing that I call me depends on all this other stuff. I have to take that for granted to say this is me, but I don't exist without all of it. So the idea of me is just actually an ontologically ill-formed idea. Like it's just a philosophically bad concept. I am an emergent property of this universe. And of course, there's some autonomy, but you try to take me as autonomous in the middle of outer space with nothing, and I don't fucking do that well. Right?
But then there is a case to say, like, if your understanding of me is all encumbering, then you want me still to do well.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just not Daniel anymore, but it's like everything.
And then that is the bodhisattva impulse, or the Christic impulse, or where the impulse to really serve life comes from. It comes from actually, like where the service impulse, at first, it comes from some like fear of hell or desire to please some nasty god, or projecting the desire for parental approval on the rest of the world or whatever, like all that child consciousness nonsense. And then it's even wanting to like respect myself, and I have these values and I want to be the kind of person I respect. Okay, that's fine. Those are steps. They all serve a role. But beyond that, like when you read Rumi or you read Hafez or you read Saint Francis, they were just fucking in love with the beauty of the world. They just loved the birds and the trees and they saw the beauty of it, and they were just fucking in love with it. And the desire to serve that which you're in love with is just a naturally arising thing.
That sounds awesome.
And this is now back to perspective and perception. Is like when people do mushrooms, when they do psilocybin, one of the really interesting things is you can do a big dose of mushrooms where you're really fucking tripping, right? And you're seeing colors that aren't there and shapes and whatever. But when you're on a smaller dose, but you're clearly altered, one of the neat experiences is you go outside and you look at a tree and you start crying because it's so beautiful. And you sit there for an hour just looking at the tree, and you feel like you could look at it for eternity and never see the tree fully because it's so intricate and amazing and beautiful. And then at a certain point, you ask yourself, I've walked by this tree 1,000,000 times and never noticed it. Why is it so much more beautiful now? You're like, the tree's not purple. It's still the same color. It still looks like the same shape. If I had to describe it, I would use the same. Why is it so much more fucking beautiful? Oh, I'm actually noticing it for the first time because I'm not so busy with this emptiness sense that is trying to go get full in agendas and thinking about people and laundry lists and whatever, that I'm actually just being present with it. And it's just actually that beautiful. And there's this neuroinhibitory function of certain brain regions that involve narrative that distracts us, where there's increased attention of consciousness in the sensory processes, where if you really get to be with your senses, which is again why Buddhist and Taoist and other techniques talk about really dropping into the senses, is because when you can have your attention really with it, the world's fucking beautiful. And when you get that, all violence, the basis for all the violence is gone.
I think that's probably one of the best ways to end this. The world is fucking beautiful.
Yeah. And arising from that sense of the beauty is the desire to protect it and to serve it and add to it. The artistic impulse is the desire to add to it, right? A lot of the humanitarian impulse is the desire to protect it and to serve it, but they all arise out of seeing it, recognizing it.